Hi everyone, welcome to the Monday edition of Source16 News. I'm Eddie Owen. Thanks for joining us. Family members of a Hopkinsville woman who was brutally shot and killed 17 years ago say they have waited a long time to see Nakia Dillard sentenced today for the kidnapping charge he committed in connection with their daughter's murder. Here's Marie Fainter with more details.
A thing like this, losing a loved one, it's just a constant nightmare. You go along with your everyday life, but the tragedy that happened to our daughter Tracy Jordan is in the back of your mind. I just can't imagine how terrifying she was when one of the gunmen, namely Nakia Dillard, guy sitting right over there, pulled out his 9mm pistol, and her and Steve Marcus, and then later hearing his gunshots while firing at Steve. Steve trying to escape. Tracy was being hauled off by the other thug while Dillard's shots were going off. She had to be absolutely terrified.
This case, I believe, was originally tried in or about 1994. It's a 1994 case. At that time, Mr. Dillard was convicted of a kidnapping, robbery, and attempted murder of Steve Marcus and the kidnapping of Tracy Jordan. The jury deadlocked on a couple of other charges and did not impose a sentence with regard to the kidnapping charge regarding Tracy Jordan because it was used, I believe, as an aggravator or a possible aggravator with regard to another charge. It is my understanding that the parties have agreed that Mr. Dillard will be sentenced to 20 years to run consecutive to his 3 other 20-year sentences, which all ran consecutive to each other. The sentence for Mr. Dillard would have to be capped at 70 years, and the court believes that, in fact, that is the proper interpretation of the law.
Yeah, Nakia, if you're really a man, we'd appreciate it if you'd serve out your time.
Court records indicate Dillard's co-defendant, Ernest Rogers, died in prison after being convicted of Jordan's rape and murder. An Oak Grove man has been upgraded from critical to stable condition today after being injured in a shooting over the weekend that killed a former Hopkinsville resident. Around 2:30 Sunday morning, Clarksville police say they heard shots fired around University Landing Apartments, where officers found 2 victims in the parking lot suffering from gunshot wounds. Both victims were transported to Gateway Medical Center, where Hopkinsville native 20-year-old Victor Molden Jr. of Clarksville died from his injuries. The other man, 21-year-old Mitchell Blue of Oak Grove, was transported to Gateway, then taken to another hospital where he underwent surgery and has been upgraded to stable condition. Officers located Fort Campbell soldier 21-year-old Fa in the area with what appeared to be blood on his face, clothes, and shoes, and a witness at the scene identified him as the shooter. At this time, police have not been able to determine a motive behind the shooting or if there was a relationship between the suspect and victims. Is charged with criminal homicide and attempted criminal homicide and is being held without bond in the Montgomery County Jail. The 101st Aviation Brigade will be hosting a change of command ceremony this week at Fort Campbell. Colonel William Gaylor will be relinquishing his responsibilities to Colonel Paul Bontrager. Since 2009, Gaylor has commanded the Combat Aviation Brigade and previously led the brigade in southern Afghanistan during Operation Enduring Freedom. In addition, under Gaylor's command, the brigade provided aviation support for U.S. and NATO operations in southwestern Afghanistan from February 2010 to March 2011. The incoming commander, Colonel Bontrager, currently commands the Flight Concepts Division at Fort Eustis, Virginia. The change of command ceremony will be held Friday morning at 9:30 at the division parade field. Murray-Callaway County Hospital has a new chief financial officer. Hospital officials announced today that Vicki Parks has joined the hospital as its new CFO. Parks of Trussville, Alabama, had been with St. Vincent's Health System, a 4-hospital system with 821 licensed beds, for the past 13 years and was promoted to the CFO position there following a hospital merger. Hospital officials say Parks and her family are relocating to Murray. A Paducah woman was injured in a wreck in Marshall County over the weekend. Around 12:45 yesterday afternoon, state police report 56-year-old James Houston of Paducah was pulling a 25-foot camper trailer westbound on Interstate 24 when he noticed traffic was backed up at the southbound off-ramp of the Jackson Purchase Parkway, that due to construction. In order to avoid a collision, Houston veered off the roadway, hit a road sign, and came to rest on the I-24 on-ramp to the parkway. Houston's wife, 63-year-old Rita Houston, was transported to Western Baptist Hospital for non-life-threatening injuries. The Purchase Parkway was blocked for about an hour. Meanwhile, wet road conditions on the Pennyrile Parkway in Hopkins and Christian counties caused 2 crashes over the weekend that left 4 people injured. State police say 33-year-old Jason Vincent of Nebo and his 2 passengers were traveling northbound around 10 o'clock Saturday morning at the 44-mile marker when Vincent lost control of his SUV, crossed into the median, and struck a guardrail. Vincent's SUV overturned several times before coming to rest in the southbound lane. According to state police, Jason Vincent's wife and front seat passenger, 31-year-old Jamie Vincent, also of Nebo, was ejected from the vehicle. The couple and their 2-year-old daughter, Campbell Vincent, were all transported to Regional Medical Center in Madisonville for treatment. In the second accident that occurred in Christian County, state police say 22-year-old Juan Garcia of Fort Campbell was traveling southbound on the Pennyrile Parkway around 8 o'clock yesterday morning. When near the 4-mile marker, his vehicle hydroplaned, ran off into the median, and flipped over onto its side. Coming to rest in the northbound lanes, Garcia and his passenger, 25-year-old Chanel Robideau of Hopkinsville, were transported to Jenny Stewart Medical Center for treatment. 2 Hopkinsville residents were taken to the hospital Saturday night after a 2-vehicle wreck on Pile Lane. Around 8:30, Hopkinsville police say 43-year-old Kelly Morse was driving westbound on Pile Lane when near Bluebird Court and Hillcrest Drive, her truck crossed over the center line and crashed into a car driven by 31-year-old Scott Fontanella. According to the report, Morse told police she was talking to her son in the back seat and remembered nothing other than the impact of the wreck. Morse and Fontanella were transported by ambulance to Jenny Stewart Medical Center, while police report their passengers were not injured in the wreck. Police are looking for the person or persons who stored cocaine and cash in a local storage unit. During a routine business check late last night, Hopkinsville police seized 1 kilo of cocaine and about $2,200 in cash after K9 Enzo indicated there were drugs inside a storage unit at Hopkinsville Self-Storage on West 15th Street. As of news time, no arrests have been made in connection to the drugs and cash, and police are continuing their investigation. A Marshall County woman was arrested on several drug charges Friday night after she was pulled over by police for a traffic violation. 26-year-old Catherine Downing of Benton was pulled over by a Marshall County sheriff's deputy after she failed to make a complete stop. The deputy says Downing was continuously moving around and fidgety, and when asked if she possessed any illegal drugs, she stated that she had a joint and removed it from her pocket. During a search of Downing's vehicle, police found a bag containing a glass pipe with residue for Lortab tablets and marijuana. Police say the glass pipe tested positive for methamphetamine. Downing was taken into custody and charged with possessing a controlled substance, meth, marijuana, and drug paraphernalia. She was lodged in the Marshall County Detention Center. Motorists traveling in Ohio County need to be aware that Kentucky 1245 is closed due to a slope failure. Kentucky Transportation Cabinet spokesman Keith Todd reports Kentucky 1245 is closed to all traffic near mile point 3 due to a slope failure that caused a 200-foot section of roadway to drop more than 6 inches with a 3-inch wide crack in the pavement. Road crews have placed signs on each end of the closed section between 19 School Road and the Western Kentucky Parkway overpass. The road is expected to remain closed for about a week to allow repairs. Governor Steve Beshear and Education Commissioner Terry Holliday today called on the U.S. Department of Education for flexibility in public school accountability under the federal No Child Left Behind Act. The governor sent a letter to U.S. Secretary of Education Arne Duncan asking to replace the public school accountability portions of the federal law with Kentucky's own model. Kentucky's the first state to request that change. Governor Beshear says, "I believe that federal law should set high expectations for education goals, but grant power and judgment to states and districts with regard to the means of achieving those goals." According to Beshear, Kentucky has been a leader in this area as the first state to adopt the Common Core academic standards and in the Kentucky Board of Education's upcoming approval of rigorous accountability model. In April, the State Board of Education incorporated the main component of Kentucky's proposed accountability model into state regulation, while the remaining elements will be considered for final approval by the board at its August meeting. The full model is a balanced approach that incorporates all aspects of school and district work and is organized around the State Board of Education's 4 strategic priorities: next generation learners, next generation professionals, next generation support systems, and next generation schools and districts. A Hopkinsville woman is accused of allowing 2 small children to play outside without supervision. Hopkinsville police charged 18-year-old Taranisha Quarles of Davin Drive with 1 count of second-degree wanton endangerment. Police say they found Quarles asleep Sunday afternoon, and her 5-month-old son and 2 toddlers, who were supposed to be under her care, were located outside playing in a neighbor's driveway alone. According to police, Quarles wantonly placed the toddlers in a situation that created a substantial danger of physical injury by not providing adequate care for those children. Here's a look at some upcoming chamber events brought to you by the Hopkinsville Christian County Community Vision Plan. The Christian and Todd County Extension offices are offering a hands-on workshop for basic food preservation. Now, you can learn how to can green beans using a pressure canner, also tomatoes, and how to make freezer jelly. The class will be Thursday morning beginning at 9:30 until the middle of the afternoon at the Christian County Extension Office, 2850 Pembroke Road, Hopkinsville. There's no cost for the class, but you'll need to bring a sack lunch, and because of limited space, you need to pre-register by calling 270-886-6328. This chamber event's brought to you by the Hopkinsville Christian County Vision Plan.